Lately, in these trying times and these market conditions, it's been pretty hard to find a good, solid project to talk about. But fortunately for you guys, I have 3 upcoming projects that I am actually excited to talk about. So you guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. Let's just dive right into the video. All right, so the first project that I want to bring to your guys' attention is a project called Arties. Now, this is a project that is supposed to bring fine arts to the Web3 space. Now, maybe you aren't that big into fine arts. Maybe that sounds a little boring to you, but hold your horses. If you have ever heard or seen the Goda Pass, they're doing a similar concept and they have a floor price of 8 ETH. And I believe previous to that, it was actually higher before their first drop, sitting at around 10 to 11 ETH. And so essentially Arties is doing something similar with their pass where they bring fine arts into the Web3 space. The difference is, however, is that Goda uses fine art pieces that are from physical collections, whereas Arties takes the fine art style that they're working with and they use an algorithm to create the same style as the original artist's work. And this, amongst a few other reasons, is why I think this is going to give an edge to Arties over something like Goda. So essentially, once you mint the Arties pass, which is going to have a 1500 supply, you're going to be able to use that supply to then mint a Voka piece, the first artist that they're working with. And here you can see some of Voka's art style. He has been in the space for decades. He's very well known, and some of his pieces go for tens of thousands of dollars. I think the highest auction for one of his physical paintings was like $52,000 or $53,000. So essentially, their algorithm is going to take his style and use that to make this generative collection, which is also going to be a 1500 supply. After you claim and mint your Voka for free, you will then be able to burn your pass, your Arties mint pass, for an access pass, and this access pass essentially grants you the ability to get whitelisted on all the future collections and the artists that they work with. And that's not only artists, they're also working with some big brands that they've told me about. I can't say the names, but essentially all the artists that they bring in, they're already very well established in the Web2 world, in the fine art space, that they just want to bridge over to Web3 and expand their audience and their overall brand. And if you think about it, this is an amazing idea because there's so many artists, fine art artists, that I don't know about because I'm not big into fine arts, that maybe I would enjoy if they were in Web3 because I would purchase them and hold them as NFTs. But the thing is, something like Arties, who has the connections to make it happen, who has the launch pad to actually give these artists a chance to kind of understand the space, come in and get early adopters to find out more about their art. Compare that to something like Chris Brown, who has 114 million Instagram followers and yet failed to sell out a 10,000 collection. In fact, he only minted out about 250 out of 10,000 NFTs. So Arties is essentially going to be a launch pad to help these fine art artists and these brands come into the space, have a launch pad, and basically give them a platform to succeed on. So another really cool thing I like about Arties is that whenever they do these future drops, regardless of who the fine art artist is, one, they're going to make sure that they are really well known and really good in their space. The community is going to be able to vote on these artists, and then when that drop does happen, your whitelist spots from your pass are going to be tokenized. So if you decide you're not in a position, you don't have the liquidity to mint that said drop, you can actually sell your whitelist spot on secondary, which I thought was a very interesting idea. On top of that, not all future drops will be 1500. Some might be smaller, let's say 400 or 500. And obviously, how is everyone going to get a whitelist spot if there's 1500 passes total? Well, the RNG system to minting the pass and minting a Voka and then getting the access pass is that you're going to have tiers. And essentially the RNG, like whether you pull a rare or legendary, is you getting tier 3, tier 4, tier 1, or tier 2. And they're going to have different random number generation probabilities on whether or not you're going to get granted a whitelist spot. So if you happen to mint a tier 1, maybe you'll have an 80% chance. But if you happen to mint a tier 2, you might have like a 75, 65, or 60, and so on. So how they explained it is they didn't want to make the gaps too big because that would be a major disadvantage, just enough to where there is some rarity involved, and the higher tier you are, the more probability you have at getting these whitelist spots. Now, another really cool thing that they told me about is that they plan to fractionalize these really big paintings from these artists in different art houses so that multiple people can own that painting as an NFT. So think about Azuki, and then they made Bobus and they fractionalized Bobu, and then there was however many there is, and everyone owns a Bobu. It's a fractionalized token. So it's kind of going to be a similar thing where everyone who owns a Bobu owns that said piece, that said art piece in the art house. So I thought that was really cool, and that could just overall definitely expand the demand for this artist's fine art, both Web 2 and Web 3 based. Now, the very last thing I'll say about Arties is I actually spent about 2 to 3 hours talking to this guy, running through the whole shebang with their team, asking a lot of questions because I was very interested. This is a project that I feel like is one that could push the space forward. It's doing something new, it's doing something innovative, something that this could actually be here in a few years from now, or maybe in a few decades, who knows. Bringing fine art into the Web3 space, it makes sense, and someone needs to do it. Who can execute? I think that these guys have a really good chance. And the one thing I will say is that their founders and their team is very well connected in the fine art space. They're also fully doxed, and they have a lot of venture capital backing as well, which is a very interesting thing because they're actually going to use that venture capital and their early investors to buy the first 12 to 20% of the supply, which, you know, I don't want to speculate too much, but obviously that means there's going to be fewer listings and probably contribute to a higher floor price. So that's about all I'll say for Arties. If you have the chance and the time, go for a whitelist on this project. I have high hopes and high convictions for this project, and I look forward to seeing where they take this. All right, now the next project I want to talk about is called 1984 Global. And this is kind of an interesting and funny one because when I was in New York City for NFT NYC, I remember seeing this artwork in Times Square on a billboard. And funny enough, when I was in New York and I went to the PXN event and party, this guy came up to me and he told me he watched my channel and he was talking about the video I made on Azuki when I was like, I'm not selling my Azuki, I don't hold many projects. And he came up to me and we were talking about it. He said that was one of the reasons he ended up holding his Azuki, and we connected over that. It was awesome. And then we ended up following each other on Twitter. So shout out to you, Johnny Cakes. I'll leave your Twitter somewhere. But essentially he ended up DMing me about this project and saying, hey, you should check this out. And I was like, I remember seeing this on a billboard. And he was like, yep, that must have cost a lot, and these guys must have a lot of funding. And so he ended up dropping some awesome alpha for me. I obviously can't share some of it, but the one thing I will say is that there's a lot going for this project. And if you look at this new video that they posted on their Twitter account, I'll go ahead and play it right after this. They have Casey Neistat. And if you don't know who Casey Neistat is, he's one of the biggest YouTubers slash vloggers, and he's in their video, this video that they made, and it looks amazing. I highly recommend you watch it. I'll just go ahead and throw it up right now because it is very well done. Now, the only other thing I can really say about this project is that their artists are doxed and they've got really good rep, really good experience. The art looks really dope. And if we dive into the art, I think what really drives my attention is, first and foremost, when I saw this in New York City, I thought, okay, that kind of reminds me of Azuki, but like an American type take. And I think that's kind of where they're going with this. So it's kind of like Azuki has got like the Asian culture, the anime thing, whereas these guys are going for more of that American comic streetwear type style that is more suited to like a different demographic. So I would definitely follow these guys. Make sure you guys have post notifications turned on. I'm in the server. There's only like 200 people in there literally. So just don't be late to this project because this project is giving me Azuki vibes, but just for a different demographic. Now, the last project I want to talk about is called 3volve. Now, this is an interesting project for a couple of reasons, and I waited to film this video until I could say this. I haven't told anyone this. I'm about to tell you now. And the only reason I'm telling you now is because they're announcing this in Singapore. This project is actually by Project Godjira. And so essentially Project Godjira's goal is to have Project Godjira, which is supposed to be their global trusted partner for Web3 integration and communities, as a launchpad. And what they plan to do with 3volve is, in their own words, to expand their horizons, which will essentially serve as their identity, allowing them to reach a much larger audience. So obviously, as you can tell by that, this collection is going to be significantly larger than their other two collections. It's designed to reach a much larger audience, similar to if you wanted an Azuki but you were priced out and then Azuki dropped beans. Well, if you wanted to be part of the Azuki universe or the garden in any capacity, you could pick up the beans and be part of the Azuki community for a much lower entry price. So that's really it for 3volve. I really don't think I have to say much more. It's by and behind Project Godjira, and they're creating this brand to expand their universe, expand their horizons, and get more people backing Project Godjira. But anyways, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you found some awesome projects. I really do believe each and every one of these projects I spoke about has a lot of potential in their own unique capacity, and it really feels good to talk about projects that I actually can see going places, especially in this current market sentiment where a lot of projects are flopping, and it almost seems like new projects have no hope. There certainly is hope, but it's going to take projects innovating, doing things differently, and standing out amongst all the rest of the oversaturated market. That's it for this video, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.